Hello, my friends. I am John. I am a recovered alcoholic and drug addict, and I'm grateful to be here. And I really wanted to share with you. I titled it First Responders, Not First Reactors. And there's this tension of two opposing words, and I would believe that I'm going to unpack this into its two opposing spirits. And so we come from a place of reaction, and we want to go to a place of responders. So when I think of first responders, I think of the men and women on the front lines that get the 911 call, and there's a reaction that happens. A phone call goes out, another a microphone or a CB comes on, and then there's an action that follows. And so you got the fireman and the paramedic, and they are responding to the reaction. There's a reaction to that which they are responding, and they respond out of their being equipped. And so I've had some trouble in my life with first responders, and I've had my fair share of run-ins with first responders. Some of the pleasant ones were with paramedics and flipping cars and some of that kind of stuff. And those were pleasant ones. I've had some other first responders that have handcuffs, and they weren't so pleasant. And I've always kind of kept my distance from these first responders. I don't want to cause them to respond due to my reactions. And I just am like, okay, I'm a good citizen, nothing to see here, keep moving on your way. And, later on in my recovery, and it was like 3 years ago, there's this Christian gathering, and like every Christian in Ontario goes to it, or Canada, or okay, fine, it's just Ottawa. So, but there's like 1,500 Christians that go to this prayer breakfast. And so I was tasked in front of 1,500 people to pray for our first responders and our police officers. And so I was really nervous about that. And so I go up there, and I'm innocently just want to do my job well. And I kind of introduced myself, and I just said, every ex-crackhead needs a good first responder friend. And to which the room roared at 7 a.m. over their eggs and coffee. They thought that was funny. And I actually got to pray for our first responders, our city's elite, the people that are trained and equipped to deal with problems, to deal with accidents, to deal with death, to deal with wreckage. They are equipped to go into a situation and deal with it in a very calm manner, a very efficient, effective manner, and they can apply their training to the situation. And so that's when I think of responders, that's what I think of. And then how do we respond? How do I want to respond in my life? I've gone from reacting to everything to respond to wanting to be able to be a responder as a trained person under the care of God. So I'm going to kind of unpack what a responder is and what a reactor is. First of all, I think the key to a responder is being trained into a new spirit, to taking from one place like a normal person. I don't know if you've ever been to an accident site, but a lot of spectators are just standing there with their mouths open and going like, oh my goodness, what do we do? Oh, somebody call 911. You hear the sirens, and then when the professionals get here, they leap into action, and everybody's just standing there. There's usually the one person. Oh, I've done this before. I've seen it on TV. I watched Grey's Anatomy. I've seen like 342 seasons. I'm like pretty much trained. And they just get pushed aside, and the professionals come in. But the first thing that God does as we get to be a responder in his name is, I really believe that this is the key element, and it's actually changing and equipping our spirit. And we see that out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And this is like the love chapter. This is like every wedding I've ever been to. The pastor reads, love, 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 love. You're married, and now you have to love, love, love. It's like the love chapter. But this is the reality of God's spirit that he puts in us. And we become married to a new spirit. We have a new spirit that we get to operate out of. And so it says, if I could speak in the languages of earth and all of the angels, I could do this really cool stuff, but I didn't love others, I would just be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith, I could move mountains, but I didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I had to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. And so this is really changing who I am and what spirit I'm operating out of. This is where God comes in and casts out all fear with his perfect love. And so I want to have this new guiding force in my life. I want to have this new spirit in my life, that I go from a reactor to a responder. And we read about this guiding force, this you hear of God being the advocate, the helper. With his Holy Spirit, he is leading us into a new life. He's leading us into becoming a new creation. He is the new guiding force in our lives. And so we've had many principles that we may have adhered to in our lives, in our old lives. We've had the principles and rules that kind of were the guiding forces of our life, or maybe they've been driving your life like a slave driver. And so these new principles out of God's love is that, number one, a principle that we totally change is that I stay close to God. Another one is that I'm maximum service to God and his kingdom. And then a beautiful one is love and tolerance to all of those around me. And so a responder is acting out of those principles because that responder has been connected to the Spirit of God, which is the Spirit of love. And now he's being trained and equipped and given a whole new set of principles and beliefs to live on. And so all of the actions of a responder are out of being trained in the Spirit of love. And so I have to get there. I have to get there somehow, because that hasn't been my story. That I haven't lived that story. I haven't lived being a responder my whole life. And I lived an addicted life for 15 years. And I can truly tell you that I was reacting. I was reacting to the world around me. And I had this spirit in me, not a spirit of love, but a spirit of fear. And what it looked like was I wasn't getting what I needed. I wasn't being attended to. I wasn't being noticed. I wasn't being esteemed. I wasn't being loved properly. Like, these are things that I couldn't even receive, but I demanded. All of our spirits, God has made us in a certain way to have these core needs. And when we are disconnected from God, we are born into that. I try to get it from the world around me. I try to get it from created things. And so when I try to do that, when I'm consuming you, when I'm consuming relationships, when I'm consuming substances, I'm hurting the people around me. If you've ever been taken, if you've ever been scammed, if you've ever been, gave your email address because there was a deal going on, and if you did this, they would send you a code, and next thing you know, your identity's stolen. If something's taken from you, you're going to react. And so that's what I was my whole life. I was taking and taking and taking out of the spirit of fear, of the spirit that I'm never going to get enough. And I'm reacting out of that, causing problems in all of my relationships. And so when I look at the word react, you got this re part, and it's over and over and over again. And then the actor, the react. And so that's kind of what I think of when I'm reacting to things. And I think that we all react to things. Somebody could slam a door, the wind could slam the door, and we're all going to get a reaction. Do I respond to that reaction, or do I react to that reaction? And that's the difference between fear and love. That's the difference between my spirit disconnected from God and God's spirit living within me. And so we kind of have this concept of the actor and the director in the books of recovery. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about We are the actor. We need to be seen on the stage for me to be okay, and I need you to see me in a certain light. And then I'm trying to arrange all of the other actors and the script as the director, and everybody in the audience, I need them to see a certain thing. And then I'm always the producer as well, and I'm a producer of chaos, and I'm a producer of confusion. And so I'm reacting to the world around me. And if I keep reacting out of my fears, then I'm just operating out of my spirit. And it's like I don't even have the choice. When I'm disconnected from God, I'm full of fear. I have this spiritual disconnected. I'm irritable, restless, and discontented. I don't feel like I'm useful. I have trouble making a living, and I'm not talking about making money. I'm talking about making a life with value, with intimate relationships, all of those things. Apart from God, that's what's resting inside of me. And so we look at this, these different forms of fear and self-delusion and self-pity, and they're what's driving my life. And so it's like this slave driver. It's like this slave driver's driving my life. And I think of the chosen people of God, the kingdom of God, and they were in slavery in Egypt for many hundreds of years. And so they were still the children of God, but they had slave drivers, and their whole lives were built into the belief that this is all that they could do under the rule and reign of the king of Egypt. And so when God finally came, they really had the choice to leave. God through his power, God through his ability, did some really cool stuff. And he actually made a way out of the land, but they actually had to pick up their bags and let's get out of slavery. Let's get out of the spirit of fear, which binds us, which drives us, which we wake up with this spirit of fear driving us. We get in the car and we're like, oh, we want to go over here today. And fear's like, oh, you're in my car. That's not where we're going. This is where we're going. We're going to crazy land. We're going to hardship land. We're going to, you're going to make bricks today. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go work 9 to 5. And then when they ask you to work overtime, you're going to work overtime because I'm driving you around. This is your option. You're in the car. Doors are locked. And what recovery does, and what the Spirit of God does, is it guides us out of Egypt, is guides us out of slavery. When I'm in Egypt, I'm being driven by the fears within me. And so whatever those fears are for you, maybe it's I'm not going to be provided for. I'm not going to, people aren't going to see me as valuable. I'm not worthwhile if I don't have a certain title at my job. If my kids don't play a certain sport, if my kids act like this, if my kids get involved in these things, people won't see me as a good parent. All of those things have actually been a driver in my life. And so the beautiful thing is that when we come out of Egypt and God really splits the sea for us to cross through onto the other side, we go from this shaky ground, we go from this harsh environment, this tense environment, into where God dries up soggy ground, like only he can. There's no power in me that can do that. And we get into the other side, and yeah, there's a testing period, and there's this nuance of like, holy crap, we're free, but oh my goodness, we have no food. What are we going to do? I remember being like, I'm coming from the trades and from, truck driving, heavy equipment, and elevator unit, all of these things that had this safety, that had this plan that you make a life out of, and it has great dental and medical, and it has, like, when you retire, you make a ton of money, and it's like all of this stuff I'm leaving, and I'm making $7 an hour. What? I'm worth way more than that. Fear says, for me, this is what a man's worth. A man is worth this amount of money per hour, and I'm not getting it. Do I still want to be driven by that fear, or do I want to be guided by God's love? And so there's a process there. For me, it was a process of really coming to understand what my characters were, how I was playing the director and the producer and all of that stuff. And God's love really positioned me in a place to be a responder out of the connection that he's given me. And so we were meditating on this today about, when I first come into recovery, I'm like this adult that pretends that I have it all together, that like there's a train wreck and there's like a fire hydrant spraying me and I'm pretending like, no, everything's okay, nothing to see here. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like and I'm so confused and lost and in the dark. And I come into recovery and I start to get this relief and this understanding and go through this process of really getting this stuff of fear and resentment and all of this stuff. I give it to God so that he can take it away, just like going through the Red Sea, parting the Red Sea. Only he can take that stuff away and replace it with his good things. And so I transition into this teenager, and I don't know if you had that teenager that likes to sleep in till. Remember the kids used to get up at like 5 a.m. What are we doing? What are we doing? And it's like, go back to bed. And then when they become teenagers, something changes and it's like 1 p.m. It's like Christmas. You got to wake them up. It's like, wake up. I don't want to. And it's like this battle, this tension that you have this angry cloud around. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. How was school today? I don't know. Why are you talking to me? Where's my lunch? And it's like, this is like my transition into recovery was like this angry teenager that you kind of owe me everything and I don't really want to do anything. But when God positions us and keeps feeding his love into us as we offer up our hurt and our pain and our fear and all this crap that's in us, all this junk that we've been reacting to, that's caused our life to be driven by fear. As we give that up, he positions us as his children. And if you know any little children, they love waking up in the morning. It's like, we slept and now it's morning. And I don't know what day it is, but it's a great day because it's sunny out. Oh, it's a great day because it's rainy out. We get a rain day. Woohoo! What's for breakfast? Can we go to the splash pad? Can I wear my purple dinosaur suit and go out to the supermarket? Yeah. And it's like, the love of God positions us as a child and he's the father. And so can I live in that in a constant, can that be my life? Giving up responsibility of the adult, giving up the responsibility as the director and as the employer, and just come into position and be a first responder. And so as I was watching the news and there was this little kid and it was the coolest idea. Like he was like, I think 6 years old. And what he was doing was he was giving little cards to people that were in old age homes and people that were having struggles in COVID, and he was making these little cards and giving them to him. And the news reporters, like, I'm crying, like, because like, what am I doing in COVID? Like, who am I high-fiving and giving virtual hugs to? And like, how am I responding, or am I reacting to the news? Am I reacting to watching like 10-hour news broadcasts, the same thing over and again? Wear your mask. You're a bad person if you don't wear your mask. You're going to get everybody sick. You're going to kill people. Like, it's like all this weight of reacting, and I'm not responding because I'm full of this fear. And so I look at this little kid and I had like tears in my eyes because he was responding with the love of God. And he was brightening up people's days with simple cards, and he would put them on his window and he would send them to people in old age homes. It was brilliant. I was like, man, who's this kid? That's the heart that I want to go from being a reactor of a situation. And every situation, there's always going to be a reaction. Am I going to respond out of God's spirit, or am I going to react out of my spirit? And so, I just thought of like this, the root system. God's got to tear that all up. It's not about trying to fix the old tree. It's about tearing the whole thing up and planting a new seed. And that new seed is the spirit of his love. And I grow into that. Just one quick story. I used to be a professional driver. I like to throw that around. I like to, flash that card. I'm a professional driver. Well, I used to be. And like no one pays me to drive them anywhere now, but they used to. And so I used to be a tractor trailer driver and heavy equipment driver. And so one of the things, I feel that I am superior to everybody else on the road because I am trained and equipped. And when I see injustice on the road, I react to it. I'm not responding in prayer. I'm not responding in good thoughts. I'm reacting to this jerk harming other people and causing trouble on the highway. So I'm braiding my horn, beeping my lights. I'm like trying to get their attention, going like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to put the fear of God in you so that you change your behavior. And like when lights are taking too long, these idiots in front of me, I know that I can cut into traffic. So, I'm not scared of, trying to make people let me in. So I do all of these things. And I remember my wife was, I just thought that was the way to drive. And I remember Vicky saying once, it's like, I'm sick of this. Like, this is not relaxing. I think I'm going to take the bus to work. We used to drive into work together. She goes, thank you. And, I'm like, what's the problem? Like, this isn't bad. Like, chill out. You're just sensitive. Oh my goodness. But I was justifying my reaction. My reaction out of fear that justice won't get served, that I won't get to where I need to go in time, that people are going to cause me to be late or even worse, get in an accident because these stupid people don't know how to drive. And I just said it like it doesn't happen all the time, but maybe once a week or twice a week, it's too much. And so she threatened me with leaving my car and taking a bus. That's not good. That's not good for the marriage. So I really invited God. I need your love. I need your love in this area. I need you to like pull this out, whatever's in here. And it was these roots of fear that were causing my reaction. And so he began to pull those out. And I truly believe that when I drive today, I'm responsible and I'm responding in God's love. Doesn't mean people don't cut me off. It doesn't mean that, people still do people things. But I'm not riled up inside. I have the peace of God. I have the fruit of God. And so we've had this road rage in our marriage a little bit where it's like spikes of tension come up. And it's like, I don't have these spikes of tension in other relationships. Could we just not have road rage in our relationship? Would that be something that we could not have in our relationship? And it's like, I know what I'm asking, and it's the only thing that I'm asking is a miracle from God so that we can have a peaceful relationship. It doesn't mean it's going to be conflict free, but we're responding to each other in love and not reacting. And for the last few months, it's been, we have had no road rage. I just want to, I'm a recovering road rageaholic, and my name's John. And it's been a beautiful thing because there's a whole world out there that's against us. We shouldn't have the fight inside. And so we're sitting on the weekend and we're having a little latte on the outdoor patio by ourselves with lockdown. And she was pondering, where'd that road rage go? Like, she's like, man, you're doing some really good recovery stuff. Like, I'm super proud of you. And immediately I spike up. I react. And I'm like, woman, I'm the one in recovery. Like, I've been in recovery for 14 years. What are you talking about? Like, you're comparing me to your level of recovery? Like, you just got into it. And I'm like, whoa. And I started spiking and she reacted a little bit, but it's because I was reacting. And so I was able to not let it go any further. And 5 minutes later, I felt the spirit of love. I felt the spirit of love say, the reason that you're reacting is that your wife is not recognizing your recovery. And now you're being defensive and you're actually trying to put her down. And I was like, oh, I want to be a responder in God's love and his spirit and not be a reactor. And so wherever I'm reacting to, that's the spirit of John. and not the Spirit of God. So I really truly believe that God positions us as his children, as his employee, as the actor, as the person that goes out and does his bidding, but we only do that with the connection of his Spirit, hand in hand with his Spirit, heart in heart with his Spirit. He's the only one that has the power to deliver us from the spirit of fear. So I leave you with that. The Spirit of God will cause us to be responders in love and in his name. And the spirit of fear will cause us to be reactors.